everyone, thanks for watching Access Hockey MI. We appreciate you coming along with us and watching our videos. We've been working through the 2020 Detroit Red Wings draft picks, and we are on the 63rd overall draft, third round for the Red Wings. That would be Donovan Sebrango. He's currently weighing in at 6'1", 183 pounds, and he's only 18 years old. So that's, I would think, a pretty decent size for right now. And, of course, we'll get into the development that we always get into. Last year, hopefully. 2019 to 2020, he was with the Kitchener Rangers, and he's expected to go back with them, depending on the season start, depending on what they end up doing with that. And he had 30 points in 56 games played, and he is a defenseman. So let's get started.
Another defenseman. So watching the draft, there was quite a few people I remember I was watching on Twitter and all the reactions of like the Red Wings media and stuff. Everyone was really pumped about this kid. I had never heard of him before this, so this is a whole new learning experience. The more you know. Exactly. So we did a little studying. The biggest thing with him, he's confident. Very confident for his age, actually. So he's been with the Rangers for the last 2 seasons, and before that he was with a Canadian International League team.
The Kitchener Rangers.
Yes, the Kitchener Rangers.
New York Rangers.
So sorry. Yeah, he's just that good. He just got drafted. He was in the pros already.
Yeah.
But so with spending time with Kitchener, it's a wonderful team in the OHL. Great development team. We've had a couple players come out of that team before, Giovanni Smith being one of them. Excellent kid. But he was able to kind of hone in his confidence. In the first season, it looked like he was a little bit more skittish. The second season, he had kind of attributed his development or his sophomore season to his D partner, which you can see now. In the last season that he played very confidently. He understood his game and his limitations. And in a player that young, that's really hard to come by. I think someone who has a firm grasp on what they are as a player.
Something you can't teach.
Yeah.
You can't teach confidence. You can't tell someone, hey, just be confident because you're good, because if they don't feel that, they're not going to play that.
Yeah, and coming from a player who admittedly hated hockey when he first started to now, it's crazy. I heard that and I was like, what? How do you just do that? But now he's drafted. So he has a good understanding of what kind of player he is and what kind of player he wants to be, and that's a great basis to build off of.
So going into that, he's pretty gritty, and he likes to describe his game as an old school and a modern player mix. So that would mean pretty much that, the old school, the hard, edgy kind of way of being a defenseman.
The hockey that it should be.
The modern player, where it's a little more of an offensive defenseman, a little more into plays, a little more into the passing. So that's one way that he is pretty good, is the passing. And we'll go into the development of that later. But that's something else that's super great, because to have that kind of an instinct as a player in general is something that you can't really teach. So that hockey sense, the hockey IQ, that's very important to have already in. And of course you can learn that, but it's just so much better if you already have that.
Yeah.
So of course going into his skating then, a lot of people put a lot of positive thoughts and positive ideas into his footwork and his pivoting. He's a very quick skater, which is great as well, and just a good thing to have as a defenseman.
Right, and with him, he is one of those bigger bodies, being 6'1". He's going to be 19 in January, so still growing, and we go over that all the time. So that's with, keeping in mind he's probably going to put on a few inches and a few more pounds in that between now and
he's
whatever
young,
happens.
he has time, and that's the great thing about drafted picks, is they have time, and the Red Wings have time to decide what they want to do with them. The thing that I think might hold him back a tiny bit is the fact that right now the OHL isn't playing.
Yeah.
To see where he's going to go to keep his mind fresh and his playing fresh, and of course they do their practicing. They get ice time. It's not like they're not, but there's nothing like competition and playing games.
He's not sitting on the couch eating chips every night.
No,
ideally. And if he is, he's probably skating it off next morning anyway. But kind of going back to his skating ability, the one thing I did notice is he's very agile for his size, and that's kind of where I was going with that, is that he is one of the bigger players, but his footwork is very tight and pristine. Not perfect, of course, but he is able to move his whole body very quickly and pivot on a dime, which is really nice to see, especially if you have someone who is more of a gritty board player and then he wants to be able to join that rush really quickly. If he can, cut back that time he's using, it's going to be excellent in the long run when he finally hits it. If he makes it to pros, it's going to be great to see how it goes from there.
Yeah, so all that working together, him just being confident, gritty, and having a good skating ability, all works really well in a starting position as far as to start out his development. So looking toward development, that really leaves a lot of fine tuning instead of learning new things or having to learn quicker starting if you're a bigger guy and you can't skate super well. So he just needs a lot of fine tuning, which is to be expected. Again, he's going to be 19. He still has a lot of time. And being drafted, he's going to get a lot of help with that development from the Red Wings organization. Just something like, hey, this is where we see you, this is where we'd like to see you, and of course if he can get playing. So if he can do quicker passing, because in the pros, once you get up to AHL, NHL, you have a lot less time to think. We all know
you have no time.
In the OHL and a junior level, OHL is not
major junior.
Yeah, it's major junior, so it's a little less time than in, like, if you're watching the USHL. They have a lot of space. They have a lot of time.
Never watching overtime in USHL. It's kind of painful.
Yeah, they have a lot of time. They can take their time making decisions and making passes. So in the pros, you have to be quick. You have to know what you're going to do. You have to know the ice, know your teammates, especially getting the puck in deep to get a goal. So if he can get a little quicker with his passing, just to take away some of that time, that thought process in the pros, that'd be great.
Yeah, and right now that's the biggest issue with, not issue, but biggest area of development.
Fine-tuning.
For a lot of these kids, they're coming from major junior and junior leagues, and some of them are in elite level leagues, but making that transition mentally, it's not even the size of the ice at that point, it's the size of your ice, where you are positionally on the ice.
How you use your area.
How you are reading those lanes and how quickly they disappear. And we see that all the time when you're watching games, you're like, shoot, or pass it. That lane might be gone from ice level. So that's something that he's going to have to work on and get a better understanding for. But the cool thing about, especially these later rounds, and with Donovan in specific, he's unsigned, meaning he's not affiliated with a college. He's not committed right now. As long as nothing crazy happens, OHL should be happening in February roughly. So he will probably go back to Kitchener and get that development in, but that gives the Red Wings so much time to really observe, and that's what you're going to see with all these later picks. It's going to be a lot of time to observe their development and see if the team really wants to invest long-term in them. And so it's really, it's going to be an uphill battle for a lot of these guys, especially the later rounds, but it's an incredibly competitive area. And giving that time frame, they can use that in their favor and just prove to the Wings that they're worth an ELC.
I would think that to be looked at first would be the defensemen that we got in 2018, 2019. Those will probably be the guys first, just by process of elimination. Like, they should be ready quicker. But if Donovan surprises, if Donovan surprises the brass, of course, they're not above choosing someone who was drafted in 2020 just because they were drafted 2020. So if he can work really hard, I could see, I still do think there'll be quite a bit of development under his belt. Maybe. Yeah, he needs to get bigger, he needs to get stronger, he needs to have a lot more playing, I would say, under his belt, and a lot more experience.
Yeah.
So
I'd be interested to see if he does end up with a college commitment. I don't think a lot of those are going down right now.
Right.
But I think he would go the college route. But that would be really interesting to see kind of where that transition happens and after this season.
Well, major kudos to all these kids drafted in 2020 for not knowing at all what's going on in the future.
He didn't even know he got drafted. He got a text later because there was like a time delay. He got a text from his coach saying congratulations. He was like, what's happening?
Well, I say kudos just because to not know what's going to happen, a lot of kids, of course, 2018, 2019, you're like, all right, this is my goal, this is my track, this is where I am this next year. And to have all of these contracts that you're like, okay, what's happening?
Blows up
you don't really know where the leagues are going right now. We have all these tentative start dates, so kudos to them for still working hard, and I really hope that all these guys, they don't take a load off, which I'm sure they won't.
It'll be a historic year if they can make this work for them in their favor. It's going to be
definitely a different start for all of these kids than it was for 2018, 2019 and past. So that is what we think and what we've seen about Donovan Sebrango. I don't even know what I was going to say. Donovan Sebrango. Let us know in the comments if you've seen him and if you like him and what you kind of think of the process going forward. And we just appreciate you guys watching our videos, and let us know if you've got any special requests. We're just going to keep going on with the 2020 entry draft pick for now.
And maybe the season will start once that's all done.
And then all of a sudden,
we got USHL coming up soon.
We got Muskegon playing right now, and they're doing well. So let us know in the comments what you're thinking and how you guys are doing. Keep us updated, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.